What does it mean to reject culture for the sake of the gospel? For one type of Christianity, it means a complete break with culture. But this is not the same thing as making a break from the perceived dominant culture. Most all Christians can claim to be critics of some parts of whatever dominant culture they're part of. In the Christ against culture type of Christianity, though, it's not a matter of breaking away from the dominant culture. It is a matter of breaking away from culture altogether. Yesterday we talked about what this looks like, and we saw a few examples of the type, such as the Amish and the Mennonites. Today I want to take a look under the hood, so to speak, to see what drives this type. Hello, I'm Stuart Baskin, pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Tyler, Texas, and this is your daily devotional for Wednesday, June 19th, 2024. In his classic book, Christ and Culture, H. Richard Niebuhr identifies 5 types of Christianity through the lens of what he calls the enduring problem, or the question of how Christian faith works in the context of civilization. All Christians have to answer the question of how their loyalty to Jesus Christ relates to their loyalties within the broader culture. How does one's faith in Christ affect one's citizenship in a particular nation? How does one's faith affect one's participation in an economic system? There are different ways of navigating this question, which is what Niebuhr explores in his book. The Christ against culture approach tries to resolve the tension by pitting Christ and culture as completely incompatible realities. You can be a Christian, or you can make your life within the broader culture, but not both, at least not among the most extreme versions of this type. Christians are citizens of a commonwealth not of this world. They are citizens of the kingdom of heaven, where Christ reigns as king and lawgiver. Loyalty to Christ and to his kingdom rules out any loyalty to the broader culture, including, for example, military service. One of the underlying assumptions in this type of Christianity has to do with the nature of sin. Where is sin located, and how far does it extend? For the Christ against culture type, sin exists within culture, but not within the community of faith. To speak of sin is to speak of the values of the world. Life in the world is based on power and its exercise. Countries wage war on each other as an exercise of power. People settle arguments either through fisticuffs or through lawsuits or through sheer intimidation. For the Christ against culture type, the exercise of power is a direct contradiction of the plain commands of Jesus Christ. In the Sermon on the Mount, for example, Christ says, "You have heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say to you, do not resist an evildoer. But if anyone strikes you on the right cheek, turn the other also. And if anyone wants to sue you and take your coat, give your cloak as well. And if anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go also the 2nd mile. Give to everyone who begs from you, and do not refuse anyone who wants to borrow from you." This is most decidedly not how the world works. Most of us either ignore these commands as too radical, or we spiritualize them and assume Jesus didn't really mean for them to be taken literally. But for those within the Christ against culture type, there is no sidestepping these commands. But they're not just commands. They also imply a judgment on the values of the world. Asserting ourselves against those who attack us is a value of a fallen and broken world, they believe. You don't live in the kingdom by adopting the world's values, no matter how practical they may be. No, if you want to follow Jesus Christ, it's an all or nothing proposition. One of the interesting implications of this, which we will see when we talk about social justice Christianity in the contemporary church, is the idea that sin is understood to be transmitted through society, rather than being something that is endemic to all human beings. The antidote to sin, therefore, is to withdraw from the corrupting influence of society and to belong exclusively to the Christian community. It goes without saying that this understanding of sin is not what we Reformed Christians believe. For us, sin is an inherent part of every human life. For Christians of this Christ against culture type, you can live in the world, indeed, where else would you live, but you cannot live in the world of culture, in broader society. For it is in society that sin is couched at the door, just waiting for us. When we return tomorrow, we'll look at two other elements that make up this type of Christianity: how it envisions the relationship between Jesus Christ and the God of creation, and the question of how we come to know God. But for now, may God continue to bless you and keep you in all that you do this day and in all the days ahead.